My sister and I both decided, as I said, she wanted to be the doctor and I'd be the nurse, and she hadn't gotten sick, she would have been the doctor. But we always thought we would try to be a professional person of some sort. And nursing was something I really liked. I liked taking care of people because, you know, when anybody got sick, you know, I helped Mom take care of them and so forth.
But that was just your natural...
Yeah, well, I really like taking care of people. The other thing I liked is I really wanted to understand the human body. And I knew that anatomy and physiology was something that I needed to know. So when I went to college, I had those courses. And then but I was kind of blessed because when I went to nursing school first before I went to college, and in that 3-year nursing school, I learned about anatomy and physiology in the classroom. But I also liked the operating room. When I had my time in the operating room, I suddenly discovered I could see the stomach. I could see the heart. I could see the liver. Hey, this is where I want to work because now I know what it looks like. It's not a picture in a book. It's real. So I asked the operating room supervisor, whenever you have a case and you need someone to scrub, can I come and scrub?
You liked looking at organs.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me for this.
But you know,
I'm sorry.
But the beauty of it is you know what it looks like. So when someone says they've got a problem, you can kind of visualize that. Mm-hmm. And you can then be helpful then to helping them tell them what to do. And I'm still the same way when people say to me, Hazel, such and such and such. And I said, okay, well, now you need to go see this doctor. And you ask to see this doctor. Don't go see the general practitioner. You need this kind of physician, because this is what I think is going on. But I know because I know where the thing is that they're talking about, and I know exactly what it looks like. I know what it looks like when it's got a problem. So I can give advice that has some sense to it.
Coming from the rural background that you came from, Harlem must have been quite a surprise, quite a change for you.
Oh, that was a trauma. I mean, you know, all those places so close on, you know, it was like you're being squeezed. But, you know, I got used to it. And then my mother's sister lived not far from the hospital. She lived in Harlem, and she, you know, opened her home, and I was in and out there with my aunts. Both of them, my mother's 2 sisters lived there, and they lived in the same building, one on one floor and one, and both of them were married. And we just had a wonderful time, you know. I visited with them and came over the weekends, brought some of my other friends over, my nursing colleagues. We go there and eat and all that. It was really neat. And Aunt Joe and Aunt Mary were both very good to us. They were very kind to us. So we had like a home. Those that were out of town particularly had a home to go to where there was adults who were nurturing us. So that way was good.
And Harlem was a pretty exciting place.
It was exciting. You know, in the 50s, 1949 is when I went there. In the 50s. 1949 through about 52 or 3, you could walk anywhere and be out late. We used to go to the movies. A group of us would get together and we'd go to the movies, and we'd come home late at night. Nobody bothered us. Well, not when we were at the school, though. That was after we graduated and we're still working there. But it was not, you didn't feel uncomfortable. You just felt fine going back and forth. But it was toward, I guess somewhere around 52 or 3, because I left in 54. But it got dangerous because the drug use was then getting high level in that area. And there were all kinds of different characters. And in the drinking, there was a lot of alcoholics. And I worked on the emergency ward. Harlem had the emergency room on this side of the hall, and on the other side was the ward. Everything came through that ward except OB, so that you took care of a lot of different patients. And you got a lot of addicts, drug addicts and alcoholics and so forth. The alcoholics were the funniest ones because you'd get them all squared away and dried out and all, and then I would ride the subway. And you walk out the door, there's my nurse. Like you needed to be identified. I'm going to stay here with my nurse. You going to take the subway? Yes, I'm going to take the subway. Okay, I'm going to protect you. Oh, that's lovely. Couldn't protect a fly, much less anybody else. But, you know, you loved it because they were just so They just wanted to pay back a little of the kindness that they got at Harlem Hospital. And I tell you, the people really were treated well. We always got them out, got them back to not shaking and all that. They're out of the alcoholic phase that they were in. Feed them, get them fattened up, and send them out there. And then 2 weeks later, there they were again. But it was sad to see that constant repeating. And in the same way with the drug addicts, we would, get them cleaned up, and they would go out, and in the next 2 or 3 days, there they would be again. And it was so sad. It was so sad.
Was it personally discouraging for you?
Well, it was discouraging in the sense that I felt like somehow we could not get into the real problem. If we could just figure out what the real problem is, that they feel that this is the way they have to live, that they can't get beyond this. I know there's an addiction element here, but there's also something mental there that they feel that they aren't worth.
Were there
worthy.
Were there times where you thought to yourself, this is not what I expected nursing to be about?
Never thought that.
No?
But that's what I expected nursing to be. That's about taking care of people. And you take care of people at their worst, not their best. At their very worst. It makes no difference. At their very worst. Because at their best, they don't need you.
But,
they need you. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because for some reason I really like my patients. I didn't have any prejudice against them because they were alcoholics. I used to say to them, "Are you back here again?" "Yes, nursey." "Are you going to take care of me?" "Yes, I'm going to take care of you, but you got to behave yourself now this time." I'd chastise them a little bit. "Yeah, I knew you were going to tell me that." I'd say, "Okay, are you going to listen this time?" And then they'd be out there, "There's my nurse." Oh my God, they're back at it again. All right.
And the training, as I understand it, at Harlem Nursing School was
second to none. Second to none. You see everything, you work with everything, and you had excellent instructors. Excellent instructors. They were absolutely excellent. There was one woman, Mrs. Adams. She was just a tall black woman, brilliant. But she could see through walls, I can tell you. She could see through walls. But she could be having a problem, and 10 seconds later look up and she'd be in the doorway coming in. I thought I'd stop in here. How are things going? Well, this is going to... She'd stay there and help you out. She wouldn't do it, but she'd guide you through what you needed to do. She never smiled. Now, if you were doing something wrong, she took you in the utility room and gave you a little dressing down about not doing what you're supposed to do. And you were taught different, blah, blah, blah. So you didn't like to be taken into the utility room. That was a trip that you didn't want.
She sounds a lot like your father. Your father took you to the bench and she took you to the utility room.
They had a place where they could shoot you out. But the thing it was wonderful. She didn't shoot you out in front of the rest of the world. She took it with private. And you learned from that. And the thing that we realized that she cared about us. She really cared about us. We finally realized that, but we were scared of her. We were scared of her for the longest time, but after a while we began to realize she really is trying to help us to know when we have problems, how to solve them. And that was really a good lesson. And we have these anniversaries. I go to them practically every year now. I'd missed a few years, but I haven't missed them lately. And she's still the same. She's still the same. Still a wonderful woman. She's a really wonderful woman. But she didn't take any prisoners when you didn't do things right. She squared you up real quick. And just like Dad did, he squared you up right away. Because they felt like you have to understand your shortfalls and get them straightened out. And get your long suit longer.
And the realization that even though you could be the best nurse in the world in terms of your training, that there were certain areas and places that were blocked off to you as far as how far you could go or how far you could advance. Did that bother you?
Yes, that was there. It bothered you, and it bothered me in the sense that I felt that I could do those things and I couldn't figure out why. But I had no problem asking why. And a lot of times people didn't want to answer that why. And I think that was good because I think sometimes when you ask why, it opened people's eyes to being, well, maybe we're being stupid. We're losing a talent here. Maybe it's possible that we should do something different. And I think that helps. The place in Westchester, which when I finished school and I didn't tell you that, when I came back to Westchester after I finished Harlem,
No, yeah, go ahead.
and before I had started Villanova, because that was where I got my bachelor's degree, I went to, I came back to work at the VA. But I also thought, well, gee, part-time I could work at the hospital in Westchester. And that way I could make some extra money, and then I would have that money to get my college degree. I wanted to get my bachelor's degree. So I went over to that place to get a job, and the woman told me, we've never had any black nurses working on staff here, but we're beginning to make that change now. You can possibly work here. I need to see your license and this thing. And I showed her everything. So I went to work there. Well, it was like they had brought someone in from outer space, because I think everybody in that hospital visited that ward that day. See this black nurse. Every time I looked, there was another one looking in the door. Both black and white, because the black people there working were maids and janitors and so forth. They were not professionals. And she mentioned to me, I forgot this, she mentioned to me that she didn't expect me to wear my pin, which you get when you graduate to show you're a graduate nurse, and so forth. And I looked at her and I said, I'm wearing my pin. I earned it. It is mine to wear.
Did you get the impression, or what kind of impression did you get of what the black people felt seeing you there in that role?
They were proud. They were happy. Now, there had been one other black nurse. I don't know when she came, whether she was there before me or what, but I think they were proud to see that was happening, because they knew that was going to break that color line and get things started. And it did. Over time, it did. But I only worked there for 2 or 3 weeks. I was making a point. I was there to make a point that I was going to be there. And then I went on to Villanova. And Villanova had started then a school of nursing as part of the curriculum. And the only females on campus were nurses. And we had our classes at night. But over time, the boys got over that. So now they have a whole, it's an integrated college. You got women and men there. University, I should say. And I was on the board of trustees, imagine, of Villanova, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last, a few years back, I've been off now I was on for 5 years. Mm-hmm. But, I didn't have any problems there at Villanova. I didn't have any problems. In fact, the faculty were very good, and so were the students. I mean, we all worked together. We weren't concentrating on race. We were concentrating on getting that course done, getting out of that course and getting a B at least, if not an A.